how did you get into physical therapy, and then how did you get into doing acupuncture?
God, I know that definitely the path of physical therapy has been a while. I mean, I've been practicing for like 17 years, but like as a kid, I always wanted to do something in health.
Okay.
I didn't know what was it, and then, but I wanted to pursue something in health. So then I started really diving into like, how can I work more one-on-one with a person instead of just as massification or as a big clinic. I can, really, make a strong relationship with the patient. And then I found physical therapy. So that's when I decided to go into therapy. And then initially, actually wanted to work in inpatient, meaning hospital.
Oh, they wanted you to go into hospital?
I always wanted to, saw myself wearing scrubs and working in hospitals. But then as I started working, then I also saw the need as so what happens with this patient when they discharge? So I'm like, what's a rehab after? So then I started taking courses, and it's like, I can also do outpatient, the outpatient clinics. So then I started doing, then taking courses, and then find myself in an outpatient clinic itself. And then as I started working in outpatients, I started getting exposed to kids and then people with an active that were, getting hurt while playing their sports. So I was like, wait, how do I treat that? Because I know the basics, but how do I take them to the next level? I like learning because I don't like being stagnant. It's not like I favor change on new things, but I don't like doing the same thing over and over and over. I think something needs to be changed, and then as times adapt, people are more like, more stagnant, meaning, they don't move as much because of the computers from what I was starting, like 17 years ago. I remember when I started, I used to do my paperwork in actual paper. Now it's everything in a computer, so you have to, exactly, the paperwork, but I have to adapt to the changes, right? So the same thing I'm seeing like people are more, they're doing more stuff and to some sense, but at the same time, they're sitting more. So I was like, things need to adapt. So trying to utilize a little more east and west to try to get better results. I try to put a little more education to it, because I guess in my journey of therapy or rehabilitation, I found myself in education now, because I also teach. So I also teach anatomy. So I like to put the education component into the rehabilitation to get the patient to understand what's going on, and not just completely like, lay there, fix me. It's more about like, let's teach you, or let's tell you what's happening with your body so you can understand, so you can kind of move better and do things to help you better.
So you're an acupuncturist, you're a clinician, a physical therapist, and a teacher, you're a professor.
Yes. So it's something that's coming, I guess, as people have more exposure or access to information online, anyone can just literally just go online, tap on the phone, why am I so tired? How come I'm always like sleepy? Or how come I'm not recovering as fast as I used to? So then, kind of that sparks kind of like, more research. So some people can get to like, find a diagnosis like that comes up a lot, it's adrenal fatigue. That sometimes it's like, there's two sides of the story. Some people say like, no, it doesn't exist. Some people say like, it does exist. At the end of the day, those are symptoms that patients are feeling. Even though it's not recognized, it doesn't matter. People are still feeling it, even if they want to recognize it or not. But it's usually fatigue, poor recovery. Some people even get to the stage of like kind of like headaches and difficulty sleeping and all of that. But at the end of the day, even if it's not recognized completely, is the patient or the person will get affected regardless, right? If you're not able to rest, you're gonna feel super tired. So you won't be able to perform. Even doesn't matter from a sports sense, at your job, just moving around, getting the groceries, because you're gonna be so tired trying to get the groceries, trying to cook, trying to perform any kind of job that you have, especially in sports too, right? So and when it's related now to sports, athletes are constantly, working out, and then, getting those muscles contract and relax, getting bigger, and going through seasons of kind of like, acquiring more weight, going up a weight class or down the weight class and all of that. So the body has to be able to adapt to it. But if the patient is feeling super tired, they're not able to recover, you can see that can affect performance.
Yeah.
So there's different ways that, I like to see and kind of like explain it to anyone kind of from the both East and West perspective, right? They call it, in Western, they call it kind of adrenal fatigue, right? But in Chinese medicine, also in general, they were more poetic to describe stuff, but at the same time, they were saying the same thing. They was just poetic to describe any symptoms, right? So they call it the adrenal fatigue. They're more related to the kidney. They call it meridians. Meridians are kind of like lines of muscles and then nerve and pathways that go up and down the body, right? So that's one of the kidney meridians that go up in there. So kind of both in East and West, they kind of describe it something that's going on around the adrenals or the kidneys area, which is affecting your energy. So there are treatments for that. Of course, patients can try to sleep a little better, but that's easier said than done, right? But maybe the body needs a little bit of more of an external input to treatments, right? So people can get actual maybe deep tissue massages or any kind of massages, right? To open up any areas in the body that can be too tight, not allowing the joint to feel loose. But also you can actually stimulate the body through acupuncture. So some of the acupuncture points are designed to kind of stimulate the adrenal glands, which are on top of the kidney, to kind of release and then kind of get a more of a kind of balancing, hormonal balance, so the patient can get a little more energy. If they get a little more energy, maybe they can move a little bit better. They can feel a little bit better, right? Maybe they can also help you once the hormones are a little more regulated, they can sleep a little bit better. So those are all treatments that can be given to the patient, but not just like actual treatment, but also with information and how education comes with it, right? How this works, what this point works, what that point works.